Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Wednesday, October 22nd, a little after 8 o'clock at night, and this is our daily recap video for our three YieldMax funds. They're all weekly payers: Ulti, the Ultra Option Income Strategy Fund; Lfgy, the Crypto Option Income Strategy Fund; and SLTY, the Ultra Short Option Income Strategy Fund. If you don't already follow me on X, ask that maybe you'd please think about it at ETF_Inspector1. I'll let you know when videos are premiering, repost when ETFs make their declarations like today and yesterday, as well as all things related to the ETFs and investment world or the YouTube channel. Before we get started, I always like to start with thank yous. So yesterday in the live chat during the premiere for this video, Ulti, Grumpy Toad did a $9.99 super chat. So he's been a big supporter of the channel. If you have a membership, you probably got it from Grumpy Toad. He has gifted, I think, like 80 of the 90, 80 out of the 91 memberships that are to my channel. So Grumpy is always in every video and every live chat. So pop in there and say hi to him as well. He'll probably be in this one while we're talking about this. All right, let's look at the market. Another ugly day. Definitely a rough time to be investing, but you got to take the goods with the bad. So Ulti down 2.1% or 11 cents. Down below $5 now. We're in the fours. It has been a very, very rough run. I don't know why I'm on Coinbase. Yeah, rough run for sure for the month, for 3 months, even 6 months really. Year to date, yeah, that doesn't really count because they changed the strategy back in early March. So we really kind of, I'm not an Ulti person pre the strategy change, but either way, it was a rough day. Obviously, it's not just an Ulti thing because, as you can see, every ticker we got's practically red. Rocket didn't get the memo. So then we check out Lfgy, and if you thought Ulti had a bad day, you really don't want to look at Lfgy down over 6%. So that kind of messed up the decent run they've been having. And then SLTY, if everything's down, SLTY's going to go up. So they were up nearly 3%. We're going to go very high level as we go through SLTY. So we'll start with, I clicked on Lfgy. We'll start with Ulti. As usual, they're our largest fund in this series. And as you saw on the thumbnail, we've crossed out Fig and Pony because we sold all of our shares. So I usually do it on the other portion as I'm looking at things, but let's just do it while we're here. We got 51.46 for our shares of Fig. They closed at 52.82, so we could have got a better price. We didn't get the best price possible, obviously. Missed it by about $1.36. So times 1.9 million shares, that's a decent chunk, over 2 million. And then Pony AI, we sold out of that as well, anywhere from 1760 to 1779. Pony closed at 1791, so a little bit, 20-30 cents higher than what we got for it. So, but that's 5 million shares there, so that's another $1 million as well. Okay, next we get into the options trades, and we're going to see a lot of buying to close the short calls and selling new ones closer to the money. That's the case for Bitmine Immersion. It just wasn't the complete position. That's why it's not in orange. $530,000 credit. Coinbase was a complete swap out of all the sold calls at that strike, dropping them by a large portion, 20-some dollars. 567,000, both still selling for the same week. Figma, this is just closing out the options altogether, the collar strategy, because we sold our shares, and that actually brought in a very large chunk, 4.1 million. That's because of those protective puts that were purchased became very valuable. Hims and Hers, This is a partial adjustment of our short calls, closing them and rolling some of them to a closer to the money strike, $390,000 credit. Hood, this is Robinhood, again a partial, closing and rolling down by $10, still within the same week as well, $574,000 credit. Iron, let's see. So this one at first struck me as odd, and that's why I highlighted it, because I wanted to talk a little bit more. So on Iron, let's take a look at where they were. Stocks at 51.83. They were down 6% today, and yet we closed our $62 short calls and sold 64s. So you would think, why, when we're winning that trade, why would you pay to close it and roll it to a higher strike further out of the money? But the only thing I could say is I think this is, I might mess up the word, arbitrage or arbitrage. I think they noticed an anomaly and took advantage of it, whereas it did cost us $30,000, but understand the potential that it opened up. There was only a 2-cent difference for a $2 difference here. So they closed for 15 cents and opened for 13, and sold to open collecting 13. So they only paid 2 cents to move their strike up by $2. In the event Iron happens to make a huge jump, there's the potential that we're going to be able to capture $2 more per share on 15,000 contracts with 100 shares per contract. So that's the only thing I can come up with as why would you pay to close out a far out of the money call and move it up. So we will see if it could turn into a heck of a play. MP Materials Corp. This is a complete close and roll of the collar to next week. Taking the win on that big time because of that protective put, resulting in a 5.3, almost $5.4 million credit. Palantir, this is a partial swap out, still staying within the same week, $500,000 credit. Pony, like we said, similar to Figma, we sold all our shares, so we have to close out all of our collar strategy. That brought in $1.1 million because our protective puts were worth more than the cost to close out our short calls. And finally, Rocket Lab, again, closing and rolling our short calls only, still going for this coming Friday, just bringing the strikes closer to the money to collect more premium. It was $1 million collected. So that was a $14.3 million credit or positive on the options trading. Obviously, the market dropping, you're going to end up winning your options trades. So that's 3 positive days in a row, but today hurt, right? So the shares within the fund dropped in value by about $138 million. When we take a look at how that came to be, a firm starts it off with a $3.4 million or a 3.4% decrease on the day. Their calls at 75 are 4.2% out of the money. Bitmine was down 7.3%. Calls at 55 are now 14% out. There's negative $38 million. So you're going to see things like that on a lot of times. Today was X day, so this is technically the day that, even though the money doesn't get paid out to us till tomorrow, the money pulls out of the values of the fund on X, leading the start of X day. So there's negative $38 million to go with $442 million in government obligation funds. Cipher Mining's up next, and they were the biggest loser, down 10.8%. Their calls are now at 24% out. Centene Corp, it's a put spread. Luckily, it's still hanging on. $36 puts are 2 cents out of the money. They could end just like that. At the end of the week, it'd be perfect. Excuse me. Coinbase was down 5.4%. They closed out the further out positions, but they still have calls sold at $342.50. that are just about 7% out of the money. They also have puts sold at 270, 15+% out. Core Weave was down 2.8%. 132 calls are 8.6% out, and $110 puts sold are 9.5% out of the money. We already said Figma. We closed out. We sold all the shares, so we don't care anymore. Galaxy Digital is our next put spread. This one has gone into the money by 16 cents, so it's not the end of the world right now. 0.4% in the money on those 3750s. Hims and Hers was down 3.8%. They've got calls sold at 54 that are over 13% out of the money, and puts sold at 42, 11.5% out. Robinhood down 3.5%, calls at 140 or 10% out of the money. Iron Limited, this was the one we just talked about where they actually rolled the strike up. And I did also look to see, well, maybe in the middle of the day were they up and in the money, but that was not the case. Well, now wait a minute, that shows that it is. Either way, they're high at the highest point of the day. They were only 57.35, so they were nowhere close to that 62. So it doesn't make any sense unless, and it's possible maybe they're about to announce earnings or something along those lines. Maybe there's a big announcement coming by the end of the week, and they want to just unlock a little bit more upside. Lucid Internet Group down 6% today. $21 calls are 13.5% out. Lululemon's another one of the put spreads. This one went into the money as well by almost 1% at 180. MP Materials Corp down 5.8%. Further positions out of the money were rolled. They still have 82s that are 17.5% out. Strategy was down almost 7%. Calls, so these 292.50s were in the money before today, and they were going to cost a lot to close out. They're now out by 4% and 8% on the 305s. Palantir was down 3.3%. $185 calls are 5.4% out. Pony AI, like we said, sold all the shares, closed all the positions. Quantum Computing down over 7%. So they've dropped so much. Their calls are way out of the money, 17 and 24% out. Their puts are way in the money, and even their sold puts that are the furthest away have gone into the money. So now they're going to have to pay to close those out, but they're going to have plenty of money to do it with their protective puts. Rigetti, very similar to Quantum Computing, dropped almost 10%, and even their sold puts to help pay for their protective puts have now gone into the money by 2.6%. Calls are not even remotely close, 46 and 47. They're 27 to 30% out. And look how far into the money their protective puts are. These numbers are from when the day started. So then they dropped another 10%, or just about $4. So you can add $4 per share to every single one of these minimum. So they're going to be worth a ton of money. Just trying to find the silver lining in the down days. Rocket Lab down 7.3%. 67s are still in play, 10.6% out. 6750s were closed and rolled. Their sold puts are still well out of the money, 12 and 14%. Rocket Companies, I would say the big winner. They're the only winner, the only positive out of the fund, up 1.7%. And of course, it's got to be on one that was already in the money. So we didn't even get to capture any of that. So that's a little slap in the face. We got stuff 64% out of the money, and the only thing to go up was already in. NewScale Power down 9.5%. They have calls sold at 46, 55, and 57. They are 32 through 64% out of the money. Probably going to see some of those get closed tomorrow for pennies. Puts sold at 36 are in the money by 3.6%. Look at these puts. Some of these puts that's in the money by 46%, and that was before the $3.60 drop. So you can add 360 to each of those as well. That's crazy. Soundhound down 2.5%. Calls are 15 and 18% out at $20.50 and 21. Puts are in the money, and sold puts are still out of the money at 12.7%. Symbiotic was down 7.8%. So they were actually in the money on these 69s. Good thing they didn't close them out. They're now out by 7%. 71s are 10% out, and then their sold puts are 11 and 14% out of the money. And finally, Upstart. Even with the 3.7% drop today, their 49.50s are still in the money. So luckily they didn't close them yesterday. They will be much cheaper to close, whether it's tomorrow or the next day. That's at 49.50. Their 54s are 7% out, and $39 puts are 22.5% out. So that is how we had a drop of $138 million in value of our underlying shares. That is not the overall movement of Ulti as a whole, because like we said, with the drops, it becomes less expensive to close out. So these negatives will shrink, which increases the value. The protective puts will grow, which increases the value. We don't directly have a 138 million. That's just kind of the quick ballpark number. We did drop under 3 billion. We're out of the 3 billion club as of the start of the day, 2.99. And that also has a lot to do with the fact that people sold out yesterday. 6.6 million shares came off the outstanding shares, bringing it down to 593,750,000. I hope I did say 2.9 billion, not million. The NAV at the start of the day, 505. That also has to do with it being X day, so they took the 9 cents off of the previous day's NAV value. But ending in the 493. I thought I saw a little bit different on here. Oh, no. Okay. It's settled out now. And our calls now, our average calls 12 to 20% out of the money. So looking like we're going to win just about all trades for the week, but it doesn't feel good when your shares are dropping. All right, today is X day, so tomorrow is payday. So will you buy down your average now that's below 5, or are you getting cold feet and looking to get out? That's the question. I bought more shares today. Next, we have Lfgy. In case you didn't feel bad enough about Ulti, we'll talk about Lfgy. They dropped much worse. Start off with trades. Bitmine Immersion had a complete close and roll to next week. That brought in $100,000. We don't talk about the just smaller plays that are not complete changes. Coinbase is the next one, rolling to next week, $233,000 credit. Core Scientific, same thing, rolling to next week, $171,000. So locking in the win for the week and starting our trades for next week. That's what we're doing. iShares Ethereum Trust, same story, out to next week, $116,000 credit. Same thing for Hood, Robinhood, rolling to the end of October, $199,000 credit. Hut 8 Corp at $150,000 credit. And this was not rolling the next week. This is making adjustments and still playing this week. So collecting some extra premium there, $150,000. And Mara brought in $251,000, closing out and rolling to next week. That's it as far as complete moves. Then the rest was just buying or just selling more calls and call spreads. So overall, they had a $1.2 million credit or profit on the options trading side of things today, and that's going to get paired with a $14 million decrease in the value of the underlying shares. Just a real quick note. You see the red, you don't see a green. Not a single thing went up today for Lfgy, so we won't have a big winner, just a big loser, and then a pile of lesser losers. Bitmine Immersion was down 7.3%. Positions were closed and rolled. BitDeer was down 9.5%. $25 calls are 16% out. They still have just about $1 million in cash and a little over $400,000 in government obligation funds, so not a lot of dry powder. Clean Spark down over 10%, so they're now over 21% out of the money on those 2050s. Coinbase down 5.4%, everything closed and rolled. Core Scientific down 7.4%. What was left for this week, or no, just the, that's an odd one. Why didn't Core Scientific close the further out of the money 2250s? Very odd. So these were 3.5 cents to close at the end of yesterday. Obviously, they would have dropped even smaller with a 7% drop today. But in any case, it's a very small position, 143 contracts compared to 5,500. Maybe they forgot about them. At 2250, they're 26% out. Circle Internet Group was down 3.9%. Their 145s are 16% out of the money. iShares Ethereum Trust down 5%. Everything closed and rolled. Galaxy Digital down 12.8%. So they were actually in the money at the start. That large drop brought their 42s out of the money by almost as much. GameStop was down 1.3%. Their 2350s are 4.5% out of the money. Robinhood closed and rolled everything after a 3.5% drop. Hut 8 Corp rolled everything as well after being the biggest loser of the day, dropping 17.2%. That's painful. 3 million. So that they accounted for what, almost 1.5% of the overall fund drop, just because of Hut 8 Corp's drop. If my math is correct, it might not be. Press record, all of a sudden your brain stops working. iShares Bitcoin Trust down 3.5%. There's no options to speak of, so it's just the share price. Mara was down 4.5%. Everything was closed and rolled. MBTX, these guys are selling a call spread at 270. That's 5.8% out, and buying a put spread at 255. They are now just barely a fraction out, 15 cents out. So that will jump back up in value by a nice amount once we download the holdings later on tonight. Mercado Libre down 2%, back out of the money by 0.9% on those 2,115s. Strategy was down, like we said, on Ulti, down almost 7%. Their 31250s are 11% out. NU Holdings, are they the only thing in the money? They are. Still in the money at 1% with those 15s after a 0.5% drop today. They're only in by 16 cents though. Nvidia was down 0.5%, still 1.2 to go on the 182.50s. Opera was down over 2%. Their 18s are 16% out. PayPal was down 2.83%, and they're 2.84% out of the money, so they were pretty much at the money with those 70s. Riot Platforms down over 8%. Again, these 2050s were in the money. They're now out by almost 8%, and 21s are out by 10.5%. And Block was in the money before the day started. They dropped 2.3% to bring their 77s 1.4 out. And that is how we had a 14. Is 14 what I said over there? Yeah, it changed slightly, but $14 million decrease. Now this one hurts a lot. The NAV at the start of the day was 36.29, and that's even after taking out what was the payout? 57.85. So after taking out 57.85 cents, that brought the NAV down to 36.29 when the day started, and then they closed at 34.56. I bought some shares of Lfgy today too. That's a nice low price. 219 million was the assets under management at the start of the day. People actually bought into the fund yesterday on Declaration Day. 75,000 new shares, bringing them up over 6 million. The average call is now 12+% out of the money on Lfgy. Again, tomorrow is payday. And last and least, SLTY. So realistically, we're not going to have much to talk about at all. We'll hit the highlight reel. They spent $296,000 adjusting their options today on ASTS and IonQ, 162,000, 133,000. Since they're shorting funds, they sell puts, and when you sell a put and everything drops beyond that put, you're going to have to pay to close it out. So that was the case. That's going to go along with a $800,000 increase in the value of the shares, the value of the shorted shares. Now, the last 2 days, we've gone through all the underlyings to tell you what they're shorting and where they're selling puts. Nothing on this page is different, so I'm not just going to keep on repeating it every single time. So realistically, we'll say BitDeer Technology was the biggest loser of a of an underlying, but as far as SLTY is concerned, that actually helps because you want it to go down. If you've shorted it, they dropped 9.5%. I don't think anything went up. No, so everything in SLTY went in their direction. They've shorted shares, so it was a good day for SLTY. And like we said, they just adjusted puts on ASTS to, let's see, 62, and puts on IonQ to 51. That's what they're selling. Everything else is the same, and I don't want to go through it every single day. So they got 17 million in assets under management at the start. So with today's move, they will be close to 18 million. No change in shares, 450,000. NAV at the start of the day, 38.50. They ended at 39.75. And their average put is actually in the money, so they're going to be paying more money throughout the week to close out trades. That's just the way it goes. All right, that's all I have for you. I got a dad joke coming, so thank you for watching. Appreciate all your likes, shares, and comments. Tried to get these videos out a little sooner. I got home kind of late tonight to get this second video made. So if you already watched the $1 Billion Club video, then you already heard the joke, but you can laugh again. So I used to run a dating service for chickens. It didn't really work out, though. I was struggling to make hens meet. All right, thank you. Have a good night. Good luck trading tomorrow, and I'll catch you in the next video.